All that shortly, but first, Rex Tillerson's differences with Donald Trump are an open secret. But if some U.S. media reports are to be believed, the U.S. Secretary of State could be on his way out. The New York Times is now reporting that the White House has hatched a plan to force Tillerson out and replace him with CIA Director Mike Pompeo. The U.S. President was asked by White House reporters about this report, and he neither confirmed nor denied it. It seems that the plan was hatched after the current Chief of Staff, John Kelly, took over. The report says Tillerson's ouster is part of the transition plan developed by Kelly. New York Times says the shake-up could happen at the end of the year or shortly afterward. Now, we all know that Rex Tillerson and U.S. President Donald Trump have not been getting along for quite some time. News reports of that friction have been coming in for the longest time. But if the latest reports are to be believed, the U.S. Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson, could be on his way out. The New York Times is reporting that the White House has hatched a plan to force Tillerson out and then replace him with CIA Director Mike Pompeo. The U.S. President was asked by White House reporters about this report and about the speculation over Rex Tillerson's removal, and he neither confirmed nor denied them. It seems that the plan was hatched after the current Chief of Staff, John Kelly, took over. The report further says that Tillerson's ouster is part of the transition plan developed by Kelly. What's more, there's also a time frame that's been given. In fact, this ouster and the shake-up could happen as early as the end of the year, which is over the next few weeks, or shortly afterward. Is Rex Tillerson on his way out after weeks, if not more, of friction with the U.S. President Donald Trump? According to the latest reports, his ouster could take place as early as the end of the year. So over the next few weeks, it is a strong possibility that Rex Tillerson could be shown the door and then replaced with CIA Director Mike Pompeo. What's more, the U.S. President was also asked about these reports which are talking about Rex Tillerson's removal and his replacement with Mike Pompeo. But very interestingly, the U.S. President neither confirmed those reports nor denied them. So the strong possibility of Rex Tillerson being shown the way out as early as the end of the year or shortly afterward remains a strong one. According to the reports that have been coming in so far, the plan was hatched right after the current Chief of Staff, John Kelly, took over. The report further says Tillerson's ouster is part of the transition plan which has been developed by John Kelly. New York Times also, in fact, indicates that this removal of the U.S. Secretary of State could take place as early as the end of the year, which is over the next few weeks, or shortly afterward. Let's go straight across now to my colleague Aditya Dhunna joining us for more on this. Aditya, what exactly are these reports indicating? Very interestingly, there's also a time frame that comes with them. This shake-up could happen as early as the end of the year, which is just over the next few weeks. We could see Rex Tillerson being replaced by Mike Pompeo. The friction with the president, of course, has been an open secret.
Yeah, Molly, this has been an open secret. Before we get to that, we are picking up reports that today when the White House correspondents were invited into the Oval Office, they specifically asked Donald Trump, the President of the United States, about this particular report which was published in the New York Times. Now, he just responded with, he's here, Rex is here. Basically neither confirming nor denying the claims that New York Times has put out today on its website. Within that room also Rex Tillerson was present, as well as CIA Director Mike Pompeo was also present during this particular interaction with the press. But we are so far given to understand that the White House is not confirming any of these reports.
Stay with me, Aditya. Also getting in the latest from our correspondent, Harry Horton, who's joining us. for more on this. Harry, what's the latest that you're gathering at this point? What exactly are these reports indicating? And as we were just discussing a short while back, the U.S. president very categorically has remained silent and has refused to confirm or deny these reports.
Absolutely. Well, we know that Rex Tillerson is currently at the White House. Donald Trump was asked by reporters in the past half hour whether or not he was planning to remove Rex Tillerson. All Donald Trump would say is, Rex is here, Rex is here. But there's no great surprise in these reports. Rex Tillerson has been out of favour with Donald Trump for a period of months now. Their relationship has become very strained. Of course, famously, a couple of months ago, it was reported that Rex Tillerson had at one point called Donald Trump, the US president, a moron. And Rex Tillerson was forced to come out and, rather humiliatingly for him, deny those reports and insist that he was committed to serving the US president. But it is clear that their relationship has become strained. Donald Trump has undermined Rex Tillerson on a number of occasions on Twitter, particularly when it comes to negotiations with North Korea. So if these reports are correct, if they are true, and Rex Tillerson is to leave his role at the State Department in the coming weeks, I don't think many people will be too surprised at that outcome.
Absolutely, Harry. Also, it's very interesting, the kind of strained relationship we've seen between the Secretary of State and the U.S. President, as you just highlighted for us. But also help us understand the replacement of the Secretary of State with Mike Pompeo. How surprised are you by that possibility?
Well, we know that Mike Pompeo, he's the CIA director, and his relationship with Donald Trump has grown over the past year. The two have formed a very close friendship, according to reports. Mike Pompeo visits the White House on most days to give Donald Trump his intelligence briefing, where he updates the president on various pieces of US intelligence from right around the world that the CIA has been gathering. And Donald Trump is known to have encouraged Mike Pompeo to stay on at the White House after those discussions so the two can sit together and talk for hours on end. So Donald Trump, the US president, and Mike Pompeo, the CIA director, do have a very close friendship. So if he is to become the new Secretary of State and replace Rex Tillerson, that's certainly a person who has a much better relationship with Donald Trump, the president, and one I think many diplomats would hope could be more effective in that role, in a way that we haven't seen Rex Tillerson being very effective so far.
One of the most important low points in that relationship between the U.S. President and the Secretary of State, Harry, have been North Korea. We've seen the back and forth happening between the President and the Secretary of State over that. Could this in any way be related to North Korea's latest missile test? What do you make of the timing of this report? And in what sense could we also correlate it with the North Korean crisis?
Well, it's difficult to say. I mean, the fact that we haven't seen Rex Tillerson and Donald Trump entirely on the same page when it comes to dealing with North Korea has certainly made it hard, I think, for US diplomats to come up and to convince the public that they have a very clear solution or a very clear strategy for dealing with North Korea. So certainly, if the person who was in the position of Secretary of State had a better relationship with Donald Trump, I think one would hope that the US could be more effective in the way in which they are dealing with North Korea. Rex Tillerson, the Secretary of State, has struggled to get many of his own people appointed at the State Department. There are still huge gaps in the staffing levels there compared to what we've seen under previous administrations. So his frustration as Secretary of State about not being able to get his team on board properly to help him be effective in his job. I think many people at the State Department would hope that if there is a new Secretary of State, then that might make it easier for them to do their jobs properly. I should stress these reports, of course, are still unconfirmed at the moment. The White House are being pretty tight-lipped about this, but if they are true, it is of no great surprise Rex Tillerson's relationship with the US President has been deteriorating for a number of months.
Absolutely, but would this in any way, if and when it happens, mean an end to the turbulence within the White House? Remains to be seen. Harry Horton getting us the latest from Washington. Appreciate you joining us with all of those details.